Hello, and welcome to part 2 of Policy Day with CalOSBA. We hope you enjoyed part 1. And in this segment, we're going to deep dive into questions around how to increase equity and economic mobility and talk about some historic measures passed to protect pay equity and support women. This segment also features a fireside chat with Assemblymember Cottie Petrie-Norris. Let's get started. In this segment, we're going to be talking about a topic that gets me out of bed every day, determined to work as hard as I can for the state of California and Governor Gavin Newsom. We're talking about the vision, the goal of a California for all, a state where the body or the zip code you're born into is not the biggest determinant of your ability to participate in an economic life or to chart your own path to success. I'm here today with someone who I know feels the same passion and motivation I do for that dream, Assemblymember Cottie Petrie-Norris. The Assemblymember has represented California's 73rd Assembly District, the cities of Costa Mesa, Irvine, and Tustin since 2018. She refers to herself as a businesswoman, mom, and community leader in that order. She has secured millions of dollars in funding for projects across Orange County, and she is known as one of the most vocal and prolific defenders of small businesses in Sacramento. As she's been named Legislator of the Year by the California Life Sciences Association, the California Family Business Association, and the California PACE Association. She also chairs some very important committees. She serves as chair of the Assembly's Accountability and Administrative Review Committee and the Select Committee on Small Business and Entrepreneurship. So before we talk about anything else, I want to say that you really do stand out as a strong advocate in the legislature for small business. And I thank you, Assemblymember, for your passion.
Well, thank you so much, Director Gray. I really, really appreciate that, especially from someone like you, who I know is such a staunch and passionate defender and supporter for California small business. So it's a pleasure to be part of this conversation with you today.
Looking forward to it. I just want to recap really quickly. GoBiz Director Dee Dee Myers talked in part 1 about why small businesses are so important economically, but want to ask about your personal motivation here. Why are small businesses so central in your policy agenda every year?
Well, Director Gray, we all recognize that California's small businesses are absolutely the heart and soul of California's thriving and vibrant economy. But it's more than that, because our small businesses are also in so many parts of the state. They are the heart and soul of our communities as well. And I think we really saw that in such a profound way in the earliest days, but really throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. And so for me, small business had always been a top priority. When we 3 years ago had to effectively shut down the state and shut down so many small businesses in order to combat the COVID-19 pandemic, that priority for me just really, really amplified. So my top priority over the course of the last 3 years really was to stabilize and support our small business, to enable them to weather the incredibly difficult and devastating period of the COVID-19 crisis and position our small business community to thrive as we emerge from that pandemic. And so that is why I was a real champion in the early days of the COVID-19 crisis for funding and state support to ensure that our small businesses were able to keep their doors open and keep their employees working. And we were able, the legislature and the governor, we were able to deliver the COVID-19 Small Business Relief Grant Program, which ended up delivering $5.4 billion to small businesses all across the state. And that really was an absolutely critical lifeline. So while we know many challenges remain, really proud that we were able to do that work in partnership with the governor, with you and with your team, and believe that our small businesses are really positioned for success as we move forward.
Thank you for that. I too feel that our small businesses really are community institutions. And I often say they're the place where young people learn and get their first job. And they're often places where returning citizens get second chances. So the silver lining in the pandemic really is the attention that we are now paying to small businesses and the support that they've gotten, as you just said, is historic. So you and your fellow legislators and the governor are to be commended for that dedication and recognition of their importance just across the board. So let's talk for a moment. How do you see the tie between economic mobility and entrepreneurship? And why is that important?
Well, for so many Californians, opening your own business, becoming an entrepreneur has really been a window into a different and better world for an individual, for their family, and as I said, really for entire communities. And I really think that our small business owners are the absolute personification of the California dream. And I have just so much respect for the tenacity, the drive, the passion, the creativity that our small business owners and entrepreneurs across this state bring to bear on the work that they do each and every day. And that was why last session I was really privileged to chair the Assembly Select Committee on Small Business and Entrepreneurship. And that gave us an opportunity to go up and down the state talking to small business owners about the challenges and opportunities that they are confronting right now and the priorities that they want to see us advancing as policymakers in the state. And we were able to bring together policymakers, advocates, and small business owners themselves, really to tell those stories. And I think to really focus myself and my colleagues on what small businesses need from us and how we can help them continue to build a vibrant and thriving California.
Yes. I know that you're already very busy cooking up new policy ideas for this year's legislative cycle. But this series is about education for partners and business associations about new important policy that takes effect this year, 2023. So I want to just ask you to think back all the way back to the last legislative cycle and talk about new laws that came out. Can you share what you think were the most important milestones for small businesses? Things that, you think will change the landscape in terms of disparities and opportunities and outcomes in our economy?
There are a couple things that I would highlight. So number one, and I talked about this a little bit, I think that some of the most meaningful work that we've done over the last legislative cycle was really done in the budget. And as we often say, our budgets are really a statement of our values. And sometimes it doesn't seem like we're putting our money where our mouth is. But I have to say, with the $5.4 billion that we invested in California small business over the course of the last two budget cycles, I think we really did put our money where our mouth is and ensure that the investments that we're making as a state reflect the values that we have as California and the values that we have when we think about how we want to grow California's economy. I think another really big thing that is coming down the pipe, and I know that you and your team are working so closely on, is the rollout of SSBCI 2.0. So that is going to put $1.2 billion on the table for California small businesses. And I think that is going to be another really historic opportunity. And I think our focus really needs to be on ensuring that the rollout of those dollars is effective, that our small businesses know about the money that's available, know about the opportunities that are available, that our network of partners across the state are poised and prepared to roll those dollars out effectively. And then, of course, on the legislative side, the big bill that we were able to pass last year was AB 2019. And that's my bill that will codify the state's 25% small business procurement goal. And was really proud of the work we were able to do on that and really excited to see that become reality and come to fruition this year as well.
All righty now, you're straight in my lane. Assembly Bill 2019. Wow, what a significant accomplishment. And you are indeed helping the state do the good work this year, Assemblymember. Tell me, what inspired you to introduce Assembly Bill 2019? The law does a number of things, including, for example, requiring small business liaisons to provide an economic equity plan for their agencies and requiring that a disparity study be completed. Is there one thing in particular that you're most excited about?
Well, there is. So the state's 25% small business procurement goal has actually been in place since 2006, when it was established as part of an executive order under Governor Schwarzenegger. But the reality is that the implementation towards that goal has been uneven. And there are departments and agencies that have really stepped up to make that happen. And there's others that haven't. And I know in my introduction, you highlighted the fact that I chaired the Assembly's Committee on Accountability and Administrative Review. And really in that capacity, one of my number one priorities in this area and just really across the board is on oversight and implementation. Because I think sometimes as legislators, as policymakers, we write a lot of laws, have a bunch of press, we'll have the big press conference, and then we don't do a good enough job of ensuring, did that get implemented? Did the money go where it's supposed to go? Are those resources having the impact that we want them to have? So I feel like that kind of accountability is always my North Star. And so that's really the part of this bill that I am most excited about. It's a bill that both sets a goal, but also sets a framework and sets up parameters to ensure that all of our agencies are actually delivering on that goal and delivering for our small business owners so that we can support them and help them as they continue to create economic growth and mobility.
Yes. So let's talk behind the scenes a little bit. Assembly Bill 2019 received a tremendous amount of support in both houses. What did you hear from your colleagues about this issue as your bill was moving through the process? And who were some of your best partners along the way?
Director Gray, as you know, effective policymaking is a team sport. And we had an absolutely phenomenal team that were part of shaping this legislation and a huge part of ensuring that we got over the finish line. So our three key sponsors on this bill were the Cal Asian Chamber of Commerce, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and the California's Black Chamber of Commerce, who we could not have asked for better partners. And they worked so hard on this bill. And I'll tell you, this was not the first time that some of the elements of this policy were attempted. So for several years, various colleagues had tried kind of elements of this bill and tried to codify the 25% procurement goal. And we weren't able to get it over the finish line. And I think in part it's because it wasn't a top priority either for the legislators or for some of the partners. And so this year, I made it really clear with my colleagues. I made it really clear as we were moving through the process, particularly as we were trying to move the bill through the appropriations hurdles in our fiscal committees, that this was my top priority, and our partners did the same. And so I think that was really, really vital to ensuring the success of this policy. And like I said, we had just incredible support across the legislature throughout the process. And I think that really is a testament just to how vital small business is and how important our local small businesses are for my colleagues up and down the state. And this is an opportunity, like I said, where we're not just paying lip service to that fact, but we are putting our money where our mouth is and using the power of California's state contracting dollars to help open up windows of opportunity for our smallest businesses.
Yes. As a strong advocate for small business during your time in Sacramento, tell me, Assemblymember, what excites you about the days and work ahead?
Director Gray, I am excited about a couple things as we look forward. And I've mentioned a couple of them already, but it really is, for me, this year is about making sure that AB 2019 comes to fruition, and that all of the exciting things that we know are possible with this bill and are possible with this policy come to life. And that's about implementation and rollout. And you and your team are just playing such an absolutely vital role in ensuring the success of that policy. And so I just cannot thank you enough. You bring such a genuine passion for small business and such an incredible leadership style in the way that you are able to galvanize folks around you, in your agency, in your department, and across the state to actually make the promise of good things a reality. So I'm very excited about that. I mentioned how excited I am about the rollout of SSBCI 2.0. And I'll say kind of bigger picture, the other thing that I am really excited about and committed to is continuing to do the work with my colleagues to ensure that we elevate the voice of small businesses in our policymaking and elevate the voice of small business here in the Capitol. And I know I've shared with you, I have said to our local small business groups, I've said to small business organizations, small and large business organizations all across the state, I think it's really vital because sometimes it seems like the voice of our smallest businesses are missing when we're making policy choices. And I get it. When you're a small business owner, you are busy keeping the lights on, paying your employees, figuring out how you're going to continue to innovate and get creative as you're facing such a myriad of challenges. But we need to ensure that both as policymakers and I think as statewide advocates, that we really up our game and ensure that we are elevating the voices of small business so that their voices are a bigger and bigger part about the policy choices and the decisions that we're making here in Sacramento. And so excited about continuing that work and excited to continue to work with you and your team to make sure that we're doing everything we can to support California's thriving small business community.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Assemblymember Cottie Petrie-Norris, for those words. I cannot tell you how much it means to me to have our relationship and to be pulling for the same things. You know, when it comes to small business, they're counting on us. So
100%.
elevating those voices, that's where it's at. So thank you so much again. Up in this next segment, Assembly Member, I'm going to be doing a deep dive into the implementation questions around AB 2019 with Angela Shell, the State Chief Procurement Officer and Deputy Director of Procurement Division for the California Department of General Services. And I want to just finally, one last time, I know thank you's not enough, but it's all I have. So thank you again for making the time to be with us today and for our viewers. This has been a great conversation about a great piece of legislation and a phenomenal small business advocate.
Well, thank you, Director Gray. So grateful for your partnership, your leadership, and for bringing me into this conversation, and look forward to watching that segment ahead. Thanks so much.
This is Lynn Gray, Director of CalOSBA, reminding you that supporting small strengthens us all.